Hello and welcome to What Are the Odds? I'm Eamon McAnaney, happy to be joined by Gary Apple. And Gary, right now we're going to focus on the favorites in the NL pennant chase. This is according to DraftKings Sportsbook. And remember, it's based on a $100 bet. So if you place a $100 bet on the Dodgers to make it to the World Series, you'd win $175. You see a look at the top four favorites with the Mets coming in, Gary, at plus 900. So, Gary, what is the key for the Mets to make it to the World Series and win the pennant?
Well, I think there's so many things here, Eamon, but I'm going to focus in to begin with on Yoenis Cespedes because his return and the reports out that he quite possibly is going to be ready for opening day. If Cespedes comes back, and now with the implementation of the universal DH, he is going to provide such a big bat in the middle of that lineup. And if he can return to anything close to the form, Eamon, that he had back in 2015 when he was acquired by the Mets at the trading deadline, help them get to the World Series, that's going to be enormous for this team. And don't forget, Eamon, he's going to be highly motivated because he's heading for free agency when this season is over.
There's no doubt he can make a huge impact, but to me, that's too much of a wild card to be a key. I like the Mets lineup. I don't think scoring runs is going to be a problem, whether they have Cespedes or don't. I think the DH is going to help the Mets, but to me, it still comes down to the bullpen. In such a shortened season, you can't deal with hiccups out of Diaz and Familia. I think the bullpen's strengthened. You've got to love Dellin Betances coming to the Mets. But I think, to me, when you say key, it still comes down to the bullpen. I know it's boring. I know it's cliche, but it's going to come down to the bullpen and how a first-year National League manager, Gary, uses that bullpen.
No, you're right about that. That bullpen's going to be huge. We saw how it decimated the Mets a season ago. But you mentioned Betances in there, and I think this delay in starting the season is going to help him as well. We saw him in limited action down in Florida in the first incarnation of spring training, and he did not look like the Dellin Betances of old. But I think this extra time is going to be very beneficial for him. I do think Edwin Diaz is going to bounce back. And Michael Conforto, who I think has MVP qualities, he's had time to recuperate from the oblique injury that he had during the spring. I think these guys are all huge for the Mets because I really do believe the Mets will make a run here in 2020.
No doubt, big years out of Cespedes and Conforto will completely change the landscape for the New York Mets in 2020. Gary, great talking sports with you, but before we go, here's a reminder to make sure to check out today's post, What Are the Odds, on SNY.TV, and make sure to vote on which you choose. Thanks for watching and keep it locked into SNY.TV.